Hello friends! Welcome in this new part of 5,000 Years of War, where we dive deeper into the Iron Age. After the quite recent destructions of the end of the Bronze Age, new kingdoms are still emerging from the ruins of vanished ones. Thanks in advance for your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We are now in 1082 BC in Babylonia, where Marduk-Nadin-Ahai has succeeded to his brother Nebuchadnezzar I quite a few years ago. But alas, the king of Babylon is captured by his northern neighbor Teglat-Phalasar I of Assyria after a failed attack against him. The Assyrian has counterattacked and invaded Babylonia. Which is why, sometime later, we meet Marduk-Nadin-Ahai's son, Adad-Apla-Iddina, at the head of a weakened Babylonia, and prey to assaults of foreign peoples, one of which particularly ferocious, as we will soon see. 1051 BC. Notice how we jump a handful of years ahead every time now, as after the chaos of the change of age, sources are rarer, civilizations have suffered. Here, Assur-Nazir-Pal I of Assyria starts his 20 years long reign and has some trouble with nomads come from the west as well. The following year, this time, Arameans, followed closely by Chaldeans linked to them, boldly enter crumbling Babylonia of King Adad-Apla-Iddina. His Essenian dynasty, because it was born in the city of Isin, will soon disappear, and Chaldeans even reach the south of Mesopotamia, settling over there. Nomadic peoples, Gambulians and Suteans, are also roaming on the eastern frontiers of Mesopotamia, menacing it. Let's visit the Levant now, in 1040 BC, where the Philistines, part of the peoples of the sea, have settled at Ashkelon, Ashdod, Jaffa, Ekron, Gath, and Gaza, taking possession of nearly all the coastline. They now attack the young Israelite kingdom, whose birth is unfortunately way too mythical, involving the destruction of city walls simply by calling God's aid, like in Jericho. Just note that the Israelites, or Hebrews, would have fought against almost every single people in the region to secure their kingdom. The Amorites of King Sihon, the Moabites of King Eglon, Ammonites of King Nahash, Arameans, and more. Here, facing the Philistine attack, the Israelite king Saul tries a small war at first, before defying his adversaries' war chariots from the heights of Mount Gilboa in these environs. A cruel error, as Saul and his 3 sons are all killed in the successful Philistine assault or shortly after. Between dating difficulties and doubtful ancient stories, we can only discern that it was far from being the only battle between Israelites and Philistines. Battle of Michmash, battle at the Valley of Elah, where one David would have confronted Goliath, and more. It is estimated, among all this, that the Israelites could have been able to muster an army 3,000 strong, infantrymen mostly, if not all, including mercenaries. Did you know, by the way, that the situation had been so complex in this part of the world for so long? Tell us your thoughts in the comment section. Moving from one region to another, we land in China in 1027 BC. It is the time of the founding of the Zhou dynasty, right in the middle of hundreds of small states flourishing along the Yellow and Blue rivers. It is when king of a semi-nomadic clan of the northwest that gained enough power so that this year his son Jifa is able to overthrow the last king of the ancient Shang dynasty, Dijin, by beating him at the Battle of Mue in nowadays Henan. Up to 100,000 soldiers could have been involved in the fighting. Note that 1046 BC is also proposed for the date of this Battle of Mue. In any event, the now called Western Zhou, masters of a quasi-feudal system, excel at horse training to form large war chariots armies, and of course use bronze weapons. The composite bow, called reflex bow, curving completely forward if unstrung, has been in use in China for around 2 centuries. Under the Zhous, the dagger axe, called ge, will gain in length to be more usable with 2 hands, and the sword will soon appear, like larger 4 horses war chariots. So here you were watching a Shang helmet, here is a Zhou helmet. It is estimated that the Zhou were able to mobilize up to 3,000 war chariots and 30,000 infantrymen, mostly peasants, with the help of their vassals. See you next time, China! We're back in Babylonia in 1025 BC. The last king of the Sinian dynasty, Nabu-shum-libur, dies, possibly in combat against the Arameans that have submerged the country under their assaults. Anarchy ensues for some time. Almost 10 years later, in 1016, Assur-Rabi II of Assyria enters difficult years as Arameans are now swarming past Babylonia, northward and along the Euphrates River towards the heart of Assyria. In 1015, could have taken place a certain war between Ishbosheth, a surviving son of late Saul of Israel, here, and David. Ishbosheth is proclaimed king of the Hebrews by 11 Israelite tribes, only the 12th and last of them supporting David. But guess what? David doesn't give up. He reigns south in the land of Judah, backed by one great warrior, Jesse, while Ishbosheth holds the land of Israel to the north, aided by General Abner. And in a bis repetita from David versus Goliath, David triumphs thanks to the betrayal of Abner, and Ishbosheth is assassinated. David, maybe as late as 1003 BC, can reign over the reunited Hebrew tribes. David will have to thwart 2 Philistine aggressions, and he will take as his capital Jerusalem, Jebus back then, as it belonged to the Jebusians. David could have taken the city from them by going through a water tunnel. We have reached the dawn of a new millennia, and in the north of the Italian peninsula, a part we've never explored yet, peoples of Celtic origins put an end to the Gola Secca civilization in nowadays Piedmont and Lombardy. Other peoples of the northern parts of the Boot were the Veneti, the Aristines, the Piccans, the Umbrians. All were known warriors, and the Piccan statue of the warrior of Capistrano, dated 6th century BC, maybe gives us an insight into what these warriors could have looked like. A strange shield helmet, a sword, an axe, a torso and back protection composed of 2 discs called cardiophylax or cadiophylax. Between 1000 and 600 BC, other Italian people, the Villanovans, Proto-Etruscans, still in the north of the country, will use bronze helmets, iron blades of various lengths, spears and shields. Their culture will produce funeral urns covered by a helmet in the case of men. And this is not all for the turn of the millennia. As in India, the Aryans just entered the Iron Age. They have established a 4-caste society where the Brahmins are taking care of religion, the Kshatriyas are aristocrat warriors, the Vaishyas the people, and the Shudras servants, mostly non-Aryans. The Aryans have now reached the south of the subcontinent, but it is mostly in the northern parts that their numerous clans will form the 16 great kingdoms, the Mahajanapadas. They will be Anga, one of the earliest, to the far east, Asaka, a southern republic, Avanti and Vatsa, both of the sender and allies for some time, Gandhara, a kingdom of great warriors on the upper Indus, Cambodia, even more north, a future republic, Kashi, sender east and most powerful of all in the beginning, then beaten by Kosala, and the next by Magadha. Kosala, northern rival of Magadha, Kuru and Panchala, great kingdoms but promised to decline, Magadha, future greatest just west of Anga, Mala, warrior republic of Center East that will lose against Magadha, Cheti or Chetia, Matsya, and Shurasena, three minor kingdoms in Center West, Veji or Vriji, a republic confederation of 8 clans in which the Vejis dominate northeast. Among the scarce information we have about Indian warfare of the time, there is the mythical or legendary story of the Mahabharata telling the story of a war taking place prior to here. In it, the Kaurava and Pandava ethnicities of Kuru battle over the throne of the city of Hastinapura, then held by the Kauravas. The 18-day-long battle of Kurukshetra would have ended the conflict by a Pandava victory, but all the future Mahajanapadas would have taken part in the war at some point. What's interesting is that the story depicts numerous archer infantry forces led by leaders on war chariots. The bow was so important in India warfare that war treatises were called Dharnuverda, science of the bow. That's all for now, and I forgot to tell you earlier that this magnificent sword, held in place with 2 rivets, was found in Central Europe around these years. Okay, we can move on now. Between 978 BC and 943 BC, Babylonia is prey to Aramean invasions, King Nabu-Mukin Apli reigning in Babylon over this period of time. Babylon has seen several ephemeral dynasties succeed to one another over the course of the last decades, one of them Kassite, and maybe an Elamite too. These are chaotic times for Babylonia. During the same period, as he dies in 944 BC, Hiram I is king of Tyre on the Phoenician coast. At the head of the most powerful Phoenician city of the time, and at peace with David of Israel on his southern frontier, Hiram is author of a victorious campaign against the city of Acre, and of another to tame a rebellion in the first colony of Tyre, far away Utikwe, in nowadays Tunisia, near future Carthage. When Solomon will succeed to David in Israel, Hiram I will tighten his alliance with the Hebrews even more to increase their mutual control over sea and land. And David of Israel dies around 970 BC, mercenary at the service of the Philistines before the war against Ishbosheth. As king of Israel, this war veteran gave command of his army to his nephew Joab, and so he campaigned with him against the Moabites, the Ammonites, early in the century, defeating their king Hanun and taking his capital Amman, or Rabbath-Ammon, despite his alliance with the Arameans of Zobah, Rehob, Maacah, Tob, and the kingdom of Damascus. His allied enemies tried to counterattack him to no avail. He even killed Shobak, general of the king of the Zobahs, Hadadezer, at the Battle of Helam in southern Syria, destroying hundreds of their war chariots without using any of these war machines himself. And that's not even all. David also defeated the Edomites of King Hadad, who failed afterward to spark an uprising against him, and he vanquished his rebellious son Absalom, killed by his general Joab at the end of the Battle of the Wood of Ephraim. Another rebel, Sheba, was also killed by Joab. Now, Solomon succeeds to David, and he first has to defeat his half-brother Adonijah and execute Joab, who supported Adonijah. Oh my, just non-stop wars over here. Oof, that was quite a lot. Let's simply finish by mentioning the start of the 3-decade-long reign of Teglat-Phalasar II of Assyria, under pressure still from Arameans, Babylonians, and kings of Nigeria in the north. But we will see in the next episode that Assyria will rise to become a power to be reckoned with. Thank you for following me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week, folks.